So last season I talked about a show called My Next Life is a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. I talked about how I was interested in the concept and figured I'd watch it. Little did I realize it would become my favorite show of that season. Now you're probably thinking, bro, that season got destroyed by the Rona. And while I would usually say yes, I can genuinely say that this show's pretty good and better than you think it would be. Now I went over the premise in the Spring 2020 Seasonals video, but let's go over it again. So Otome Game, what I'll call it for the rest of the review, is about a girl named Katarina Kleiss. She's arrogant, bratty, and all around a bad girl due to her being raised in a place of wealth. After an incident where she trips and falls on her face, her entire personality changes and she becomes a girl from the real world. This girl really loves otome games, which are games targeted towards women that are usually visual novels, and where the main female protagonist makes her way through the story while being able to romance every male. She dies in her world and gets summoned into this world as Katarina Kleiss, but something's fishy. As she investigates, she realizes that not only has she died, but she's gotten summoned into her favorite otome game as the villain. And in this story, the villain either dies or gets exiled. In order to survive, Katarina needs to plan and avoid this tragic end. Like I stated in the Spring 2020 Seasonals video, it sounds like a drama from how I describe it, but it's more of a slice comedy, but with more depth than a majority of them. Now let's start off with the obvious. This is a light novel adaptation of a reverse harem isekai. These three things should not work together, and they don't work well alone either, but somehow it blows off all those labels and becomes something super engaging and interesting. Katarina as a character is super great. Having a female lead is already great enough, but having her truly change all the encounters on screen makes her character become much more than a generic harem or reverse harem protagonist. She's dumb to a fault, but really tries to avoid her bad end. To sidestep the issue of the bad end, she records everything she remembers from the original game and tries to twist the relationships in her favor. Because of this, she doesn't realize that by avoiding her bad end, she creates these strong and lasting relationships with side characters that never existed in the original game. Additionally, since Katarina really has to plan out every decision in her life, it shows every interaction with each of the characters, especially the meeting and becoming friends part, which means that every character in this show has their own time to shine, including people like her maid. Every character in this show is super good, and even on top of this, every character has real problems that they deal with, and Katarina, using her kind nature and a little bit of knowledge from her experiences with the game, befriends everyone by helping them through these problems instead of going down the normal villainous route. Because of this, her relationships with the other characters are so strong that every character has such an immense amount of respect for her. Seeing all these interactions and how Katarina helps others feels so good to watch. But it can sometimes make you wonder, is she doing these things just to avoid the bad ends, or is she truly a good person? I think the show does a good job doing both. On one hand, to befriend these people, she really has to care, and it showcases how much she cares and how much effort she's willing to put into creating these lasting relationships. But on another hand, she could also be doing these things because she's so scared of getting this bad end that she has no choice but to make these relationships. I don't know, just food for thought. Focusing back on the heroine herself though, I like how she is oblivious to a lot of things, like most harem or romance protagonists. But she's much more than just a generic MC. Katarina in the entire show is just so funny. Some of her plotting is so ridiculous that I found myself laughing out loud, which usually isn't the case. Usually I do that snort thing where you breathe hard out of your nose for like a fast second, then that's it. The gags are also super funny. There's one gag where Katarina thinks of throwing a toy snake at Gerald because he finds that he has a weakness for snakes, or another gag where Katarina does something nice for Gerald and Gerald thinks he's finally getting special treatment, so he gets her alone and gives her a gift only to find out that everyone else is there and they also get her that same gift. It's things like that that make the show super funny. Katarina's dumb nature earned her the title of Bakarina from the community, which is basically Idiot Katarina, but meshed together. It's funny, but her dumb nature actually allows her to be straightforward and to the point, which can both be a good and a bad thing, which they showcase in the story. I also love the High Council in her mind. With every major in-game event, Katarina thinks if what she did or what she does is the correct thing to do. With the council being various personalities of Katarina, it's fun to see how they interact. Now there's also another really good part about this show, and it's showing the main character's past life. Usually in Isekai, it's mostly a self-insert for yourself and basically a form of escapism. So why would you show off the past life? Well, showing her past life helps the audience to see her motivations and growth, and ends up going miles in terms of the development and the investment of the lovable main character. Alright, so this is a spoilery part, so be warned. So the most interesting thing about this show is what I just talked about, but what makes that part so good is the reveal right before it. Sophia, which is one of the characters Katarina befriends, is actually her friend from real life. This is why it's so important to show the main character's past life. It's such a cool reveal that makes this isekai something much more than your standard self-insert fantasy. Now up until this point, I've been singing this show's praises, and I really do believe that it's an amazing show, but the last thing I want to talk about are the things that I didn't like about the anime. There's some episodes that are straight up filler, like the book episode, and some episodes that felt like filler, because we've seen the things that they show before. Not to say that these were really bad, but it got to the point where it felt like it was a little too explainy. I understand that in novels, it's okay to explain a lot to give a visual, but since this is film/television, there's already visuals on screen, so the explanation could be toned down just a little bit, but such is the life of light novel adaptations. Other than that though, I really liked this show. This show is incredibly good, with such a fun protagonist, great characters that we see many sides to, and different things to make this stand out compared to other generic isekai. It has slowly become my favorite show of the spring season. If you'd like to watch this show, it's on Crunchyroll and Verve, and a second season was already announced, so there'll be more goodness in 2021. And although it's a case where the story after season 1 feels finished, I'll be excited to see if they can add even more interesting twists to the isekai genre. That's gonna be it for this one, but if you like this video, remember to show your appreciation down below by leaving a like. Also, I really want to build up this channel to become something that's even greater than it is now, so please subscribe and tell your friends so that this channel can grow even more. Thank you all and have a nice day.